Hi, welcome back to Her Expat Life, the YouTube channel that brings you all the exciting, relevant content for female entrepreneurs and digital nomads to advance their global lifestyles. If you've been following our channel, you'll see we deep dive into various topics that are of interest to women who move around, who are entrepreneurs, who are digital nomads, and those who are hoping to set up their lives in this way. And we talk about a whole bunch of topics from personal life to bureaucracy and paperwork to visas to all the nitty gritty. We deep dive into all of it to help you make more informed and better decisions about advancing your global lifestyle. And today we have Candace Smith, the founder of Her Expat Life. She's back with us. Hi, Candace. How have you
I
been
am
doing?
so good.
Good. Good, good, good. So Candace is with us today, and we are going to break down some of our top recommendations for top destinations for digital nomads, females in particular, and entrepreneurs for this year,
I'm so
2023.
ready for
Okay, so lately, yeah, I'm so excited as well. Lately, there have been a lot of developments in the world of being digital nomads, in the sense that a lot of countries have opened up to the idea of embracing nomads, digital nomads, and embracing more expats and entrepreneurs. And a lot more countries have made things like digital nomad visas available. So it's an exciting time. Candace, talk to us a little bit about this. 2023, what have we stepped
It
into?
absolutely is an interesting time. I think C19 really pushed was like the push that created all of this because people were having to work at home, and then people were like, we're not going back to work. and I
Yeah.
think too it helped put a lot of for a lot of people it helped put everything into perspective about what really is important. Do I want to spend all of my years working for a particular company, and living a lifestyle that is, stationary in one place, and then wait until I get older to travel? Or do I want some flexibility and freedom in my life? And a lot of people are like, we want freedom, and we want freedom now. Yes, we will work. That's no problem, but you have to give it to me on my terms. And I'm really happy to
Mm.
see this in general, particularly being American, because we have such a slave driver mentality when it comes to work and work ethic, and there's very little room in the culture for having that work life balance. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy to see this movement, this momentum for people wanting to achieve not only work life balance, but also incorporating travel and just really creating some really wonderful lifetime memories in all of that. So it's created the perfect storm where people are like, okay, I want to live, love, work, travel abroad. These are my terms. And a lot of countries answered the call because, first of all, their economies
Mm.
were down from the lack of travel and tourism, and they needed a creative way
Mm.
to boost their economy. And so the digital nomad visas were that answer for that, a very
Mm.
creative way, a win-win. And I'm here for every single second of it. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
very like
agree.
when we were coming up with the concept for this video, I was like very excited to hear your list. So I would love to see where
Mhm.
where you are for number three, and we can count down from three to our number one.
Ah,
I also, just so you all know out there, I also created a list for female expats because I know that being an expat and being a digital nomad are two different journeys. Particularly if you are like me and you are a mother who is traveling and living abroad, and you want to know like where are good places to raise families and things like
yeah.
that. So I created a separate like bonus list that we'll go over. But Alexia, I want to hear your number three spot for female digital.
Okay. So I've been doing some research and some deep diving into locations around the world that are calling me or would appeal to me in particular. And I've tried to also not centralize them all around one
Okay.
place, just to give a bit of diversity. But I think in third place, I definitely have a tie
Okay.
between two that I couldn't decide on, and it is between Palermo in Italy and Puebla in
Oh,
Mexico.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so two very different parts of the
Yes.
world, but let's quickly deep dive into Mexico. So I have been intrigued and fascinated by Mexico for a very long time. Um, but obviously, a lot of people have some concerns about
Right.
Mexico in terms of safety, in terms of just freedom of movement within the country. But Puebla has literally been a safe haven for a lot of digital nomads in the sense that it's one of the regions in Mexico that has not really been affected by the drug cartel
Okay.
issues that the country is experiencing. So I feel like it is a good place, a good opportunity to acquaint yourself with the country. It has great infrastructure for digital nomads. There are some co-working and co-living
Wow.
spaces which are popping up everywhere. So that really intrigued me because I have, like I said, I have this fascination and calling to
Okay.
Mexico. And as someone who, for me, safety is important, I was happy to see this spot or place in Mexico offer that. And then tied with third for me was Palermo in
Okay.
Italy.
Yes.
And this actually popped up on my radar because her expat life has co working and co living
You
partnerships
do.
with some places in
Yes.
Palermo. So that's how it popped up on my radar, and it just looks incredibly beautiful. Italy is still one of the most charming
It is.
countries in Europe, in my opinion. The culture, the food, the language, the people, the experience. And Palermo just has this something, this magic. Um, so, yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about the co working and co living spaces that we have there.
Sure. So the co-working space that we have there is co-working Palermo, and it's not only co-working, it's co-living as well. So you can
Mm,
actually rent time there to co-work and co-live. They have short-term leases, agreements, and packages, and as well as slightly longer-term stays as well.
mm,
They are right near everything too, so that's really great. And I think the great thing about it, like they have partnered, like I said, with Her Expat Life, so that our members, so if you're a member of the Co-work and Play membership, you actually get an additional discount off of your stay there. And so I definitely say it's worth it to take a look. Palermo, I'll actually be there,
mm,
like I said, over the summer. I'm really
mm.
anxious to go because Sicily is first and foremost, it's almost like its own, it has its own unique identity. You know, it's
Yeah,
an island country. It has been kind of like invaded and taken over by multiple cultures. So you have like a little bit of
yeah.
flavor, like lots of different flavors from cultures that have added to Sicily over the years. So I'm glad to see Palermo on that list. And of course, I used to live in Italy, so Italy is always at the top of my list and always in my heart. Like you said, it's just so charming, and there's just something
Hmm.
about being in Italy that really captures you. And I'm also I'm also surprised that you did Mexico, Puebla, this Puebla, Mexico, right?
Puebla,
Puebla,
Puebla.
Puebla,
Yeah.
Mexico, because I think that people do have a lot of misconceptions about Mexico, but all the people that I have met that live in Mexico are in love with living there. So I am
Absolutely.
happy to see that on the list. I'm going to I kind of guess was tied also for third place, but I kind of like made the third place like an honorable mention. So number three on my list is Croatia for female digital
Ooh.
nomads.
Ooh.
And the reason why I said Croatia is because it's still pretty centered where it is geographically in Europe. And it's one of those places
Mm,
you can get to a lot of different places from there. They have a nice coastline, and everyone tells me I'll also be in Croatia this summer as well. Um, Everyone tells me that Croatia is like Italy and Greece had a baby.
Oh, oh.
Everybody,
That's a way to sell
like,
it. That's
everybody tells
important.
me Croatia is like Greece and Italy had a baby, and that baby is Croatia.
Yeah,
So I was like,
yeah,
that's quite interesting. And
yeah.
I think that maybe that's something that people can share. On top of that, Croatia also has a new digital nomad visa. My list was really
Yes.
centered around how easy is it to get a visa to get, to
Mhm.
stay, because honestly, that's like the number one concern. Like you pick a place on the map
Mm.
and you're like, okay, how long can I stay here? And I think that is very important, especially since slow travel is like this new
Yeah.
concept. Now that people are digital nomading all over the globe. Now there's this new trend to slow mad or slow travel, to be green, to really care, and not
Yeah.
only be green, but to also have the opportunity to slow down enough to absorb the culture and not just be one
Absolutely.
of those people that are going to take, but also kind of like really absorb it and then also give back to the community.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great. I'll share some stats that I kind of got down for Croatia that I
Mhm.
felt was really interesting. Average cost of living. So a one-bedroom apartment in Croatia in the city center of a major city is around 640 US dollars.
Mhm.
And I know for a lot of people listening in the US, they're like, what? Because I know right now in my home hubs, American home hub city of Orlando, I think a one bedroom apartment right now is like 15 to 1800 US dollars a month.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. So it's literally
It's
half,
it's
half
is yeah,
price.
it's half. Maybe like a little
Yeah.
more than half the cost.
Yeah.
Um the cost of an average meal at a restaurant is like 13 US dollars. And then for you beer drinkers out there, for perspective, a beer is
Important
right.
information.
Just
Essential
don't drink and
information.
drive. We don't
No.
condone that here. Don't drink and
No, we
drive.
don't. No, we don't.
$3, $3 for a beer, to put it in perspective. Um,
Uh-huh.
their healthcare system, I didn't find any information on having a public healthcare system, but it seemed like it was the average cost for a doctor's visit was around 25 US dollars, which is great because I mean most Americans don't even. I mean, can Americans afford healthcare these days? Like, I just don't even know what you guys are doing anymore outside of going to the
I
emergency
don't
room. But I
either.
know that's probably more than
Yeah.
people's less than a lot of people's copay when they go. Safety overall on the index was like 78%, which was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then also their internet access, they had an
Mm-hmm.
average speed of 15.7 uh, was it megabytes per second, which is really
Mm-hmm.
good. And about 82% of the population had access to internet. So I thought that was really good, and a place to consider because, and this is something that just popped in my mind. Croatia just became part of the EU.
Ah,
They just
huh.
became part of the EU. Like I want to say, was this is February last month?
Okay. January
Yes.
2023, yeah?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's also something to
Amazing.
think about as well as possibly purchasing property there
Absolutely.
where it gets too
Absolutely.
expensive.
Absolutely.
So that was number 3 on my list. And honorable mention was Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that one was like I said, I like you. I wanted to get some place that wasn't just centered in Europe. Um, I think
Mm-hmm.
Asia and a lot of the smaller countries, and I guess lesser known countries, um, for a lot of people to go to, like Vietnam and some of the other countries in Southeast Asia, just not on the radar. Just not on the radar for a lot
Which
of
is crazy.
people. And these are
Which is
emerging
crazy.
markets where you can really go. It's extremely affordable. And also for a lot of people, they find that it's surprisingly safe. And
Yeah.
the great thing about an emerging market is while living in an emerging market provides I guess some challenges, brings some challenges
Hmm.
because maybe the infrastructure is not what you're used to if you come from a very well organized country. But I think you have an opportunity to get in at a place where the country is really growing. It's not yet reached its peak in development. And that can just mean so much financial opportunities for you as well as social networking, etc. So um, that was my honorable mention. And I think too, like uh, cost of living, just to throw out some numbers, one bedroom apartment in the city center is anywhere from $400 to $600 per month. Groceries for a family
Hmm.
of four, $200 per month. And transportation is about 20 to $50 a month. So definitely that needs to be on
Hmm.
your radar.
I completely agree with you. I used to live in Southeast
Really?
Asia a few years back. Yeah, 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 yeah. I lived in Thailand, but I had the pleasure of traveling from the north to the south of Vietnam
Okay.
over a 3 week period.
Okay.
Yeah, a friend of mine and I, we did a little motorbike, the typical
Okay.
motorbike bike trip from the north to the south. And Vietnam is just incredible. It's really like a cultural experience like very few places on earth that you'll ever have.
Really?
It's the culture is incredible. The food is
Oh my
amazing. The
goodness.
food is so good. The food is so good. It is very, very affordable compared to a lot of Western countries. Um, it's also historically a very interesting country.
Well, I'm gonna have
If
to.
you are
I'm gonna definitely have to have that on my radar for travel.
It's great. It's like if you're a history buff, Vietnam is a very, very, very interesting country. And visually, it's incredibly
Wow,
beautiful. Limestone, cliff mountains everywhere. It's lush, it's green, it's tropical. Yeah,
tropical is
I have a very
nice
soft
because
spot for
I
it.
don't like to be
Yeah.
cold.
Oh, you'll be very happy in Vietnam. It's a good spot. It's a good spot.
Nice. So I would like to know. I guess we can move to number two. Two
Uh-huh.
picks.
Okay.
Okay, so being at
So
number
number
two.
two. Yeah, number two again was quite a challenge for me to decide on, um, because there are just so many options. You know, how do we break it down? How do we pick just one? But a place that caught my attention again, a little bit out of the ordinary, but is definitely an emerging hotspot for digital nomads, is Sofia in
Oh wow.
Bulgaria.
Okay, do tell.
Hmm.
I want to know more.
So yeah, so Bulgaria, I feel, is a spot that a lot of people don't pay much attention to. Everybody talks about, all the typical places to go to, the big
Right
names that keep coming up, like we've discussed, the Italies and the Greece and all of that. But Bulgaria is actually a very, very interesting country.
to the
Um,
Balkans.
Again, historically, very, very interesting. It is quite affordable. If you look at Europe as a whole, it is one of the more affordable countries. It is interestingly quite well located in terms of traveling to other parts of Europe. Um, the infrastructure in Bulgaria is maybe not as great as the others on our list, but it is definitely emerging. And a thing that is important to me as well is, like I've mentioned before, safety, especially for a female traveler.
Absolutely.
And this is where Bulgaria shines. And I think a lot of people don't really know this about Bulgaria, but there is a very low crime rate in Bulgaria. The people are quite peaceful. The culture is also very accepting. So there's a lot of religious tolerance in the country. And currently, at the moment, they don't have a digital nomad visa, unfortunately, but there are numerous different ways of being able to have a long stay within the country. And if you compare it in terms of cost of living to other parts of Europe, it's a no-brainer. It's much more affordable than a lot of Western Europe, at least from that perspective. So Sofia in Bulgaria,
Nice.
that's
I was
my
also
that's
going
my
to
number
interject. We
two.
also have a co-living co-working space in Bulgaria as well that we partner with, and it's Burgas Co-living in Burgas, Bulgaria. And I think it's just outside of the capital, about, I would say, 45 minutes outside of the capital.
Amazing.
So the great thing about them, they have their own wine cellar. They do wine tastings on the property. It's very beautiful. And if you actually go to our website, herexpatlife.com, and you click on our global partners, you will see, you can click the link to their website and get a look at their property. It's absolutely beautiful, especially if you just want, a nice getaway, kind of to, have a little bit of nature. They have like tennis
Mm-hmm.
courts, basketball courts on their property, different places where you can lounge and work during the day. And then of course they have internet on the whole grounds. So you can work inside of the co-working space, or you can work outdoors, of course, if the weather is nice. And then I think they have like activities planned, cooking classes, lectures, kind of like brainstorming ideas and networking events. So it's a really nice place in Bulgaria. And that's another place that's on my list as well to travel because, of course, living here in Turkey, that's one of our neighbors. Bulgaria, in the
Absolutely.
Balkans. So I definitely want to get a chance to. And I'm excited and happy that you have them at number two. I
Amazing.
feel a little bad now because number two on my list was really typical.
It's okay. It's typical for a reason, probably.
But it's Portugal. It's
Wow.
Portugal. And again, the reason why I chose Portugal, I know that it's a real hot spot still for so many Americans, and actually, a lot more Americans are leaving the country, and a lot of them are headed to Portugal, various parts of Portugal. Not so much Lisbon, as I'm hearing Porto is becoming like the next
Mm-hmm.
place for people to want to go. But the reason why it's on the
Mm-hmm.
list is because of the visa. They have a nice digital nomad
Absolutely.
visa, the D7 visa. And the great thing about it is it's available. Um, it's valid for 1 year once you get it, and you can
Mm-hmm.
renew it up to 5 years. And then after 5 years, then you can qualify for some sort of citizenship. I believe you have to take a Portuguese language test after that, but I'm not 100%
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I want to share some interesting stats on Portugal. Of course, considering all the countries within the EU, Portugal does have the lowest cost of living compared to other
Yes.
countries. Um, the average monthly rent for one bedroom apartment in the city center is €572. And the average cost of a meal for two at a mid range restaurant is about €25. Healthcare, because we touched on healthcare, and I know we've spoken about healthcare. Healthcare is such a big one, especially for me. Like, if I'm ever going to go to a country, I'm always going to consider the healthcare because for me, health is wealth, and having access to
Mm-hmm.
quality healthcare is just extremely important to me. So, Portugal has a free public health care system, and it
Mm-hmm.
provides free health care to all its citizens and residents, and it is ranked ninth in the world for healthcare quality. And the average cost of a doctor's visit, if you're paying out of pocket, is €25, which is somewhere around 29, 28, 29 US dollars.
Yeah.
So that for me is absolutely phenomenal. You know,
It's a no-brainer.
absolutely. Safety, it's also very safe because as a
It
woman
is.
living abroad, you absolutely want to feel safe. And, when I think about safety issues, even back in my home country, recently, I don't think I even mentioned this to you, Alexia, but like 2 days ago, we lost a family friend to gun violence in the U.S. coming
I'm so
coming out of the
sorry.
store. And when I think about something like that happening, in particular in a Western country that's, you know,
Mm,
supposed to be this beacon in the world, it's really
mm,
heartbreaking and sad for me. So leaving the US, safety was huge on my list. And Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Crime rate
Mm-hmm.
is 2.6 per 1,000 people, and it has less than 5.5, not 5, point 0.5, so
Point
less than
5.
a percent of homicides per 100,000 people. That's
Wow.
that's phenomenal considering that we don't live in a utopia. That is
No,
phenomenal.
it's
And of course, our
phenomenal.
internet is really good in the country, and the average cost for internet is about 30 euro per month. So, for
Mm-hmm.
digital
Mm-hmm.
nomads, internet connection is everything because if you don't have internet connection, you
Yeah.
can't work. So Portugal is a
Yeah.
great place for that. And of course, there are tons of co-working, co-living spaces. And then, maybe we can also do a separate conversation about purchasing property in Portugal. Um, yeah,
Absolutely.
because that's also something to consider as well. So that's my number two
Absolutely.
on my list.
I love your number two, Candice, and I want to jump in here a little bit because, like, on two things actually. So, I am a South African of Portuguese descent.
Okay, I did not know that.
So,
I was wondering with your last
yeah,
name. I was
yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So South African Portuguese, which intrigues some people. It's quite an interesting mix if you're not used to it. But when you touched on the safety matter, that's something that, like in this whole video, I keep on talking and referencing about like
Right.
safety and safety. And as a South African, I can completely empathize and relate with you on the topic of how important
Yes.
safety is when we travel, especially being
Yes.
females. Um, and Portugal is super, super
Right.
safe. And yeah, very, very important. And I think just to give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of an inside scoop. So, my parents, my grandparents are Portuguese, well, we're Portuguese of Portuguese descent, but from the islands, not the
Oh, wow.
mainland. And the islands are where it's happening at the
Really?
moment. Yes, yes. So for those who are curious about Portugal and who have maybe visited Portugal, the mainland, and who have been to Lisbon and Porto and all of these other places in the Algarve in the south, which is beautiful and phenomenal. If you're looking for something a little bit different, if you're looking for a place that has amazing weather all year
Okay.
round, and a place that is known as the Pearl of the Atlantic, you need to tap into the island of Madeira, which is where my family is
Okay.
from. And they have literally, I stand to be corrected, but I think they've literally created a digital nomad community.
Really?
Like they are really, really trying to pull in a lot of digital nomads. And the island is incredibly beautiful. It's in the Atlantic. It's really, really safe. It has a beautiful climate. Mainland Portugal can get cold in winter, parts of it, but the islands have very mild winters, amazing summers. There is also the neighboring archipelago of Azores or Azores, depending on your
Okay.
accent. And that is made up of a few different islands that make up this archipelago. And it is, if you are looking to disconnect from the world, but still be connected enough to work, and if nature is your thing, and if hiking is your thing, and if you want to just immerse yourself in a place that feels like almost like the edge of the earth, the edge of the world, in terms of like just
Right.
disconnecting. Uh, Azores is the place for you. So these islands can also be accessed through
That's
getting
true.
the digital nomad visa for mainland Portugal. And I feel like a lot of people miss this. They think of Portugal, they think of mainland, they forget
That
about
is
the islands.
true.
So
That is very true.
yeah,
I'm so happy that you brought that up because a lot of the, even like Spain and France have islands, and we forget about that. But I think tapping into the digital nomad visa for Portugal and then considering one of the islands is perfect if you want that type of environment. So thank
it's
you.
beautiful. It's really beautiful. I'm
Of
biased,
course.
obviously I'm biased. But honestly, like very underrated, beautiful, beautiful part of the world that is also quite accessible to a lot of Americans if you look at distance wise,
Absolutely.
So
That was actually on my
yeah,
list. I
definitely.
was like, kind of considering where I would go next if I were to leave Italy. And Portugal was always in the back of my mind. And it still is as far as like a property is concerned. But and that will be on my
Absolutely.
bucket list. I'm going to research the islands to get an island getaway that's
Please
not that
do.
far away.
It's yeah, with great weather, great food, good people, and super safe.
It's key. That is key.
Yeah, very, very much
So
so.
I would like to know, we're going to move down to number one spot. And I
Hmm.
am very curious to know your number one spot for Disney Nomads.
Okay, so if you know me, this will come as no surprise because this is the place I currently call home. But my number one spot is Spain. That is my number
Yeah,
one
that's also
choice.
my number one choice. That was my number one choice.
So Spain is amazing. Okay, so I have been calling Spain my home base for the last 5 years. I am based in Barcelona, which is a fantastic city. However, to be very honest with you, if we're talking about affordability and the cost of living, then there are probably other cities in Spain that will hit that mark better. But the reasons why I love Spain and why I call Spain home is because Spain has so much to offer in terms of culture, in terms of nature, in terms of opportunities, people. I think there's a massive misconception, and I had the same misconception before I moved here, that Spain is sangria, paella,
And see, and
flamenco,
siestas.
and that's it. And siestas, which is not true. If you're hoping to come here and have a siesta, you are very, very misinformed because people work hard. People work hard. But Spain is actually a very, very
It
diverse
is.
country. Very diverse country. And I think there are, I stand to be corrected, 4 or 5 official languages that are spoken in Spain. So you've got the northern parts of Spain, which are beautiful, beautiful, lush green areas. You've got Galicia, north of Portugal, which they speak their own language, not dialect of Spain, language called
Oh, wow.
Gallego, which is very similar to Portuguese, but different in its own way. They've got their own music, their own culture, their own festivals. Then you have Cantabria and Asturias up north as well, which again, beautiful. You're along the Atlantic coast, very different to the south of Spain. Then you've got the Basque country bordering with France up north. They speak a language called Euskera, which is one of the oldest languages in the world that has no link to any other language spoken.
Really? That is
It has
so
no, its
interesting.
roots are not. It's so interesting. That community of people have been there for so, so long, and they have such a beautiful culture, such a beautiful history that is very much their own. Um, and the language is just incredible. And the food, it also is one of the places in the world with the highest rates of Michelin rated restaurants in the
Wow.
world. So if you're a foodie,
Spain is
the north
it.
of Spain.
Spain is it.
The north of Spain. Basque country is for you. In fact, I believe that oh, Anthony Bourdain was a very, very big fan of the food from the Basque
Wow.
region.
Wow.
He was a massive advocate of the culinary delights that come out of that region of the world. So that's just the north of Spain that already offers you so much diversity. Then you've got Madrid, the capital, the center. Everybody's quite familiar with Madrid, known for their football, known for the nightlife, known for the culture. Incredibly
It
clean
is.
city. When I went to Madrid, I was blown away at how clean
Yeah, it
Madrid
is.
was. Super clean. A lot of history. Again, if you're a history buff, Madrid is the spot for you. Museums everywhere to your heart's content. Also, very well connected to other parts of Europe, obviously being the capital of Spain. Then we move down to the south, which is
Yeah.
Andalusia. which is quite a big region, the southern part of Spain, known typically for all the things we associate to Spain: flamenco music, friendly people, affordable lifestyle. The south of Spain, if you are looking to stay in Spain in an area that is a little bit more affordable, cities like Sevilla, Granada,
Yes.
Cadíz are all good spots to be looking
Yes.
at. And I know that we actually also have a member or a partner in
We do.
Cadiz.
We
Am I
also
right
have
on
a
this?
co-working co-living partner in Cadiz, Spain, and again, you can go to our website to look on to get to their website and see all that they have to offer. But what I love about their co-working co-living space is it's right on the beach. It's right on the
Hmm.
beach. So if you are looking for that perfect beach getaway, co-work, co-living from the beach, the owners are extremely, extremely friendly and welcoming and warm. And they have short-term and long-term leases. And
Hmm.
again, our members get a discount off of those rates. So I highly recommend all of you that are watching to take advantage of the co-working co-play membership and and book at one of these amazing places because I'm that's where I'm going this spring is to Cadiz, and I'm going to stay at their co-working co-living space because when I actually researched the city in and of itself is just so amazing. Especially if you want something a little bit slower pace, and then the
Yeah.
bonus for that is that it's so close to Morocco. So you can actually take a
Yes.
ferry from Cadiz to Morocco if you wanted to do a day trip or, just even stay in Morocco for maybe a week or so and then go back to Spain. It's really so accessible. Yeah.
Absolutely. The south of Spain is great. It's affordable. It is a slower pace of life. Not that people are having siestas every day. This is not true. But, but it is more affordable. It is a slower pace of life. The area is known for friendly people, warm atmosphere. The architecture is incredible. The history is fascinating as well. I'm glad you spoke about Morocco because if you're a history buff, the south of Spain will be really, really cool. Obviously, looking at the influence that North Africa had on Spain and the Iberian Peninsula, and architectural marvels like the
Yes.
Alhambra in Granada. The whole of Sevilla is just incredible. The south of Spain is something else
Yes.
to marvel at. And then obviously Barcelona, which is where I'm
Yes.
based, which I hold very dear to me, and the region of Catalonia, which again, a lot of people don't know, has its own culture, has its own language, has its own history, has its own culinary delights. Food that you will not find in other regions of Spain. Like here, the traditional food at the moment, at the end of winter, is a dish called
Okay.
calçots, which is basically like a spring onion that has been grown in a different way. Well, it's like within the family of spring onions, grown in a different way that it has a different shape. And this is done over a barbecue. This onion is prepared over a barbecue and it is served with an absolutely delicious
Okay.
sauce. And the tradition is, it's very messy to eat, but it's a lot of fun. You take the calçot, you peel the layers, the outer layers off, you dip it in, and you
Oh
try to
my
put it in your
goodness.
mouth, sauce all over your face. And yeah, and then you drink it with good wine, amazing wines in this
Yes.
area, affordable wine. I
Very
know you
affordable
mentioned
wine.
beer
Yes.
earlier. I'm more of a wine girl, so amazing that I can pop down to the supermarket and pick up an amazing, amazing quality wine for like 4 or 5 euros, like good quality wine. Barcelona is a bit more expensive, obviously, being such a metropolitan city, such a cosmopolitan city. Um, but you're never going to be bored
That's
here. There is always something to do. There is a massive community of expats, people from all walks of life, all corners of the world. And we also do have some partners here in Barcelona as
We do
well.
for our co-working, and we have co-working and co-living spaces. They're in Barcelona. There's I want to say the home. I forgive me, people. I forget their name on the top of my head. I'm so bad. But again, you can go to our website for a global partner,
Yes.
for a global partners list, and they are on there. But one of the coolest ones that we have, you actually went to the co-living space, and it's actually more of a studio
Mm-hmm.
for creatives, because we know that there are a lot of people who are creatives, who are traveling and working abroad as digital nomads, and they need very unique, working in spaces. They don't need like the
Absolutely.
traditional co-working space for the cubicle,
Yes.
desk, exact or meeting space. And this space hits the mark because basically it's where you can go in and they help you with filming, editing, like if you want to shoot YouTube videos or you want to shoot something very specific and you need that type of professional equipment, they help you do it. You can also do conference calls there, um, news broadcasts, like anything that has to do with filming, audio recording. This co-working space is absolutely phenomenal. And again, if you're a co-work and play member, you get a discount off of their services. So definitely check it out. And I think a lot of people don't know, Alexia, that actually when I first considered leaving the US, I went to go do my sabbatical in Barcelona. I had gone to
Mm.
Madrid and Barcelona I think like the year prior. And I didn't know what to expect from Spain, to be honest with you. I didn't know what was in my mind in regards to Spain, but I was also looking at some very affordable properties on the outskirts of town, maybe like the northern parts of Andalusia. And
Absolutely.
I decided, okay, I said, we're going to go to Madrid. And I loved Madrid. Like you said, super clean. We were staying near the Royal Palace, and that whole area was amazing. I had like patatas bravas, like every day. I was like,
My staple diet.
I love patatas bravas. That's like one of my top, like, it's on my top 10 list of favorite food.
Same.
And I loved Barcelona. It's just what you said. Barcelona is so alive. There's just a really beautiful energy
Mm.
there. You can never get bored, and like you said, safety, really safe. And when I went back for my sabbatical, I actually took my mother and my daughter with me. And it was kind of funny because my mom
Mm-hmm.
was like, "You want to stay in Spain for how long?" I'm like, "Mom, just come." I was like, "You're a retired
Yeah.
woman. You have literally nothing to do all
All the
day."
time in the
And she's
world.
like, "Okay, I'll come." So we came, and it was really nice in the neighborhood that we stayed in. And I remember I bumped into a woman from New York, and immediately
Mm-hmm.
she said hi to me, and I caught the accent. And I was like, "Oh, you're from New York, right?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm from the Bronx." So it's like, "Oh, wow." It's like, I knew because of your accent, you're from the Bronx. And I was like, "Oh, how long have you lived here?" And at that time, she had lived there, I think, for like 4 years. And I asked her, "Why did you move here?" And her
Mm.
response was so profound. She said, "I moved here so my kids could play outside
Yeah.
in peace."
Yeah. Yeah.
She was like, "Here, my kids can be kids. They can run, they can go
Mm.
play in the neighborhood. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to look over my back all the time like I, would do in the Bronx." And I was like, "Wow, that speaks volumes." And I
Yeah.
can I can attest, like I felt very safe in Barcelona. And I love the city. I would definitely, it's funny because, like I said, I was all systems were go for Spain, and then I took that detour trip to Rome and ended up in Rome. But Spain was very close on my list, and I actually want to share some stats because since it was like my number
Mm-hmm.
one country too. Yeah,
Please
I was
do.
like, oh my
Tell
goodness.
us
I was like, okay, that was number one on my list for digital nomads. And also, we didn't mention Valencia is the hotspot.
Yes.
It is the number one hotspot for digital nomads right now in the current moment. And
Globally.
and they just approved their digital nomad visa this year. So January of this
Yes.
year, they just approved their visa. So you can definitely get a digital nomad visa. You can also include your family members in the digital nomad
Yeah.
visa on one application. And you do not have to go back to your home country to apply for it. You can apply for the visa in Spain. So that is absolutely
Mhm.
phenomenal. But some of the stats really quick about Spain. Average cost of a meal for two people at a restaurant is right 30 euro, excuse me. Mid-range restaurant, I'm like eating my words, 30 euro. Average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the city center is anywhere from 700 to 900 euro. What is it in Barcelona for like a one bedroom?
Oh, Barcelona is a little bit more. Like I said, if in terms of rental, the rental market here is it's tricky. Most people are living in shared apartments here in Barcelona, but it depends on the neighborhood that you're looking at. It depends on your price range. But to be fair, for a one bedroom apartment living on your own, I think to find anything less than 850 euros is going to be a little bit
Okay.
tricky. So from 800 upwards. But again, there's so many factors to consider, but that's ballpark
Okay.
figure, I'd
Okay.
say.
Um, Healthcare. Healthcare is pretty good, and I would
Mhm.
love for you to speak on the healthcare piece since you actually live there. But the
Yeah.
stats that I was able to pull, a doctor's visit out of pocket is around 30 euro, and then an average hospital visit out of pocket is about 100 euro. And the quality of the healthcare
Mhm.
is good. So, can you speak on from personal experience with the healthcare system there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've been very privileged to not really have needed to go to the doctor that much, or to have visited a hospital in my time here. But there is a public health system that everybody has access to. I can speak mostly just for Barcelona because each autonomous region has their own healthcare system that they manage. But here in Barcelona, we have CAPS, which is basically like clinics for each neighborhood, and you're allocated a cap, which is like this medical center closest to your house, and you are registered in their system. And if you need to go to the doctor, you just go there. If it's important, if it's serious, you can wait your turn. Usually the waiting time is not
Okay.
that long. And you're given access to a medical professional, and you are normally given your script, and if it is a prescription from a doctor and you've gone through the right channels in the public healthcare system, generally you don't have to pay for medication. So, and if you do, it's at a much lower discounted rate. Um, I don't think I've ever really spent that much on medication, to be honest with you, because you go to the doctor prescribes it, you go pick it up from the pharmacy, and because it's prescription, it costs almost
Wow.
nothing. Um, there is also private healthcare as well for people who don't want to be in the system. The public healthcare system is good, but there are things that you're going to wait for if it's not serious or if it's not an emergency, because you are dealing with a lot of people. So those who are frustrated by some of the waiting time do go into private healthcare, but private healthcare is super
Wow.
affordable, super affordable in comparison to, at least I know, in South Africa, and I'm sure in
Yes.
the States as well. Um, I don't have private healthcare, but I do have a private dental
Okay.
plan, and it literally cost me 110 euros for an
Oh,
annual
that's
plan.
amazing. That's amazing. What is that, like $12 a month, something like that?
Probably it works out to
Or
like,
12
yeah,
euro,
like
12 euro,
10 under 10
yeah,
euros
12
a
euro a month.
month.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. So the healthcare here is really good. Is really good. And the doctors are great. You know, like I think everywhere doctors are under pressure and
yes,
under
definitely.
stress, and but here I have not been to a professional who's made me feel like they're not interested in helping me, or like they just want me
Right,
out the door as quickly as
right.
possible. It's um yeah, it's always been um really helpful, and the challenge is, and this does need to be stated, I think people need to understand this, is language might be a barrier.
Okay. Okay.
Language might be a barrier. And this is where, if I have to compare Portugal and Spain, the level of English, at least in Portugal, is much higher. So chances of you even ending up in a small little village somewhere in Portugal, people can speak English.
Oh,
Whereas in Spain, the level of English is not
right.
that great.
So,
So that might be a bit of a
right.
challenge for some people, but it does offer you the opportunity to learn
Right,
Spanish,
absolutely.
which is one of the most spoken languages in the world. What is it?
Yes.
Second? First?
I think
Second? I don't even
it's
know.
like,
But one of
yeah,
the
it's one
top
of the top
three.
three languages in the world. So, yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you are looking to learn a language, I would suggest Spanish, and Spain is the place. I mean, if you live here, just because it's probably going to be easier for you to communicate with people outside, especially outside the bigger cities. Um, in Spanish, you'll pick it up
I was
really,
going to say,
really
how is
quick.
your
But that's
Spanish? Are
probably
you fluent now?
what is
I
fluent, Candace? I
Are
can
you
speak. I can speak.
conversational?
I'm
Okay.
conversational. The thing that gets me, but to be honest with you, like I was doing Spanish lessons for maybe no, less, 2 months. And then I kind of like gave it up because even though I'm a teacher, I'm a really bad student. So I was like, ah, it's fine. So most of the Spanish I know is Spanish from the
Okay.
streets. Um, but Spanish is not that difficult to pick up in comparison to other
Especially if you're
languages.
an
It's
English
not that
speaker
bad.
or you speak any other Latin
Yeah.
language. It's really
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. So I would say I have a conversational level. It's the conjugation of the
I
verbs that
know.
get me.
And there
Uh,
are a lot. There
there
are a
are.
lot. I'm
There
glad I'm
are.
not
But
alone
we're
because
getting
I am such a bad student too. Like, I'm just like,
there.
okay. Like, I remember, like, they would give homework when I was at the Italian school, and I just had to tell the teacher, I'm never going to do homework. I'm just like, I'm anti homework, and I'm not going to do it. So I'm sorry. I'm just
Yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
have too many things going on at home to
Yeah.
do homework. So, he
Yeah.
kind of looks at me like, okay.
That's a cool thing about languages, though, is that if you're immersing yourself in a culture, you're picking up so
Right.
much more by just going to the supermarket and asking someone, oh, where is the
Right.
bread, or where can I find like this or that. Like that's how you learn, and
Absolutely.
that's why I love languages
Absolutely.
because you can immerse yourself in the experience. It doesn't have to be textbook.
Absolutely. I wanted to touch on the safety. I'm just going to pull up the
Yes.
stats on safety. So, Spain is, like I said, very safe, and I kind of touched on that with the story of the woman that I met from the Bronx there in Barcelona. But crime rate is low, threats of
Mm-hmm.
terrorism very low, and overall the country has
Mm-hmm.
really great access to internet. But like I said, that safety piece as a woman, I think Spain ranks on the top 5 for
Mm-hmm.
safest countries for women to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, a place if you're watching this broadcast to consider. Seriously consider not only for
Yeah.
you but also for your children as well.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe international travel can provide our children with so much. And I think one of the most beautiful things we can give our children is the experience of an innocent childhood. And a part of
Yes.
that just comes from being safe. It sounds so basic, but in some places it's just not.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of had a secondary list, and we won't keep it too long, but I did a list for expats. So the top 3
Yes.
lists for expats, and the reason why I did a separate list, like I said in the beginning of the video, is that for a lot of women um, who are living abroad, they want to be more stationary, and
Yes.
they're not moving all over the world. They want to plant roots. And so we already kind of touched on, tied for 3 was Spain and Portugal. And we already went over that. So we won't go over that again. But
Mm-hmm.
number 2 coming in is Germany. I
Ooh.
know. Right.
Okay.
so,
Tell us
so I
why.
actually been to Berlin twice. And I love Germany. I just couldn't stay there because of the cold in the winter. It's just far too cold for me. But it's amazing country. Berlin and a lot of the major cities are extremely modern. So if you're looking for a very modern city, lots of infrastructure that is strong, Germany is excellent. Germans are known to be extremely organized. That is exactly what you're going
Yes.
to get when you go to Germany. And right now, they have a shortage of so many different types of workers that they have made a lot of major shifts in their immigration laws to accommodate people coming in and being able to immigrate to Germany quicker, even if you do not speak the language, including I heard that's coming through down the pipeline is a digital nomad visa from Germany. So
Oh,
definitely want to look at that. I'll briefly go over the stats because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. Average monthly rent for a one bedroom apartment in a major city center is around €900 per month. Average cost of a meal in a restaurant, 10 to €15. And the cost of a liter of milk is 98 cents. 98 cents.
wow.
Healthcare, they do have public healthcare, but they also have affordable private healthcare. And I actually went to Germany initially to get evaluations done. Very, very affordable. And I can
Mm-hmm.
attest quite quality treatment that I received. And I actually know some people who fly from New York into Berlin just to go to the doctor because it's more affordable to do that. So healthcare, very good.
Wow.
Safety, relatively low. And of course, the internet is very strong if you're looking there. I'm going to quickly move on to my number one spot for female expats, particularly female expats who are going to be with families, and that is Dubai and the UAE. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, 80% of the population are expats there. So large expat community for you to get in where you fit in, find your community, plug yourself in. Average cost of living is around well, it's like 7,000 dirham, which I think that's somewhere around 1,200 USD. And then they have a free public healthcare system for citizens and expatriates. They also have a private healthcare system that is very good. It's actually one of the safest cities in the world, extremely low crime. And my friends who have lived there have attested to the fact that you can leave your car running with your purse stuffed with $1,000 sitting in the car seat, and all of it will still be there
Mm-hmm.
when you get back if you go into the store. So, not
Wow.
only that, I will briefly mention they have an amazing new digital nomad visa that if you are looking for something that's family friendly, this is the one that you want to take advantage of because you can include your children. They make accommodations for your disabled children, no matter how old they are, as well as your adult children up to the age 25 for males, and then for unmarried daughters, infinitely. Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought that
Perfect.
that was really nice about the visa. So those are my
Yeah.
lists for the top three for female expats who are considering just making a whole new life somewhere else. But I know we have to wrap it up
Mm-hmm.
because we only have like about 2 more minutes or so. Um, so
Yes.
I guess I'll let you bring it on home, Alexia, for us to close out.
Okay, well, I think we've said everything there is to say. Candace, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure chatting to you. And yeah, this is only really a taste of what we can offer. So if our listeners want more information about any of these destinations, if they want information about how to create this new life for themselves, the bureaucracy, all of these things, please contact Her Expat Life. We're here to help. We're here to create this opportunity for you to start this new life, this new experience for yourself. So yeah, I'd just like to end off reminding people to visit our website,
And subscribe to
herexpatlife.com.
the channel and hit the notification bell.
Absolutely, absolutely. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on. Are we on
We are
TikTok?
on
We are on
TikTok,
TikTok,
yes.
right? Absolutely. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, visit our webpage, reach out to us. We are here to help you. And yeah, subscribe, like, connect, keep watching our videos. We'll keep you updated with all the different news that we have to offer. Okay, thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Candace.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.